We respectfully request the Sangha Great Virtues for the sake of this assembly and all living beings. Please turn the wonderful Dharma wheel to teach and guide us how to end birth and death, leave suffering and attain bliss, and quickly realize non-birth. Cung thính đại đức tặng thịnh, vì thứ pháp hội cấp nhất thiết chúng sanh, tịnh chuyên diệu pháp luân giáo đạo ngã mùng, như há liêu sanh thoát tư ly khổ đắc lạc, tất chứng vô sanh. Homage to the Blessed, Noble, and Perfectly Enlightened One. Nam mô Sananto Suche Doye Ela Hodi Sam Miao San Po To Xie. Nam mô Tát Đắc Tha Tô Già Đà Già La Đệ Tam Miệu Tam Bồ Đà Tọa. The unsurpassed, profound, subtle, and wonderful Dharma in 100,000 million aeons is difficult to encounter. Now that I'm able to see and hear, I will receive and maintain it. I vow to fathom the thus come one's true and actual principles. Wu shang sheng sheng wei miao fa bai jian wan jie nan zao yu, wo jin jian wen de shou chi, yuan jie ru lai zhe shi yi. O Buddhas and Bodhisattva, Great Master Tianliang, Great Master Shirangama, all monks and nuns and all good advisors, Emitofuo. 诸佛菩萨、精良大士、师父上人、各位智者人、各位善知识，阿弥陀佛。Chư Phật Bồ Tát, kính thưa Thanh Lương Quốc sư, Hòa thượng Điển Hoa, quý thầy cô và quý vị thiện tri thức A Di Đà Phật. Hello everyone, today is the 13th of May 2022. We're here in Way Mountain Temple in California to continue discussing the prologue to the Avatamsaka Sutra that's written by Master Qingliang, Great Master Qingliang. We are now on slide 285. It's the story, I believe we started talking about that, of Chuyin, the person who knows your sound, who recognizes your sound. This is one of my favorite stories when I was younger. One thing that stuck in my mind, that is this concept that I was brought up in the Western educational system, went to a French high school. And for the first time, I heard of this story of this Chuyin thing here, and that really made a profound impression in my life. I think that's one of the reasons why I began to appreciate more Asian culture, because when I was younger in Vietnam, I went to French high school, so I was more inclined to like, the Western things. The language, the romanticism, the Westerners and so forth. And for me to hear something about two people called Zhu Qi and Baya, depending where you are. The Chinese pronounce it slightly differently from the Taiwanese. But the Master Shirangama told the story, and I think since you've been along for gone a while, so let's pick it up again, just for the heck of completeness. Zuji is a wood gatherer, meaning a person who's very poor, and he has the ability to appreciate music. Whereas Baya is a person who is an official, so he have a difference in social status, education, and Baya is an official in the court, and he's a hotshot, and he's very adept at playing the lute. The lute is this thing you put on the table, and you play, and so Baya, the government official, would occasionally disappear from court, hop on his boat, go down the river into the wilderness to play his music, to play his lute. And one day he was doing that. He anchored and he played the lute, and he played, and all of a sudden, after playing one song, he heard a comment from on top of a rock, a tall rock. He wasn't paying attention. Someone said, "Oh, it sounds like the high mountain song," and that's Zuji who made the comment. And Baya didn't say anything. He played the next song, and Zuji would comment, "Oh, this is like this music sounds like flowing water, and it's surging like running streams." And Baya was impressed. He said, "Oh, someone recognizes my special talents for playing the lute." And so he next played some very sad song. Someone was in sorrowful. And Zuji would comment, "Oh, this makes me feel so sad. It's like I feel like crying." So he felt the emotions in the song, in the music. And now Baya then switched the tune to a happy tune, like a laughing sound. And Zuji said, "Wow, this makes me feel like laughing." And Baya then was so ecstatic. He said, finally Baya made a comment and said, "You really know my sound." That's the Chinese that's a translation for 知音. Okay? 知 is to know, 音 is sound. So that's the name of this anecdote. And they bowed as brothers, as people used to do back then, to show appreciation for each other, swore loyalty to each other, lifelong friends, and they would enjoy things together, both good things and bad things together, and they agreed to meet again the following year, the next chance that Baya would have a chance to get away. And the next year, the following year, Baya showed up in the mountain and played the lute, but Zuji was nowhere to be seen. So Baya kept on playing and playing, and no one made a comment, no one showed up. So Baya was sad. So he put down his lute and wandered around the mountain looking for Zuji, his 知音, the friend, the sworn friend who recognizes his sound. And he met this woman here who says, "Are you Baya?" And Baya said, "Yeah, that's me. How do you know my name?" He says, "Oh, it's my son who told me to look for you." So Baya says, "Yeah, where's your son? I'd like to see him. I'm his sworn blood brothers." And the woman says, "I'm sorry, my son passed away, and he can't see you now." So Baya was very sad. He himself asked to go see the tomb of Zuji, And he went there, looked at the tomb, probably cried a little bit, took out his lute and broke it into 1,000 pieces and never played the lute again. So that impressed me as a person on how deep the feeling can be between two people. That's not what I learned in the Western culture. The Western culture is based on material things, on gains, on recognition, all those things. Whereas in this profound story here that touched my heart was that is such a beautiful thing, that the deep feelings that one person has for another. And that's triggered by this ability to know each other, to understand each other's sound. Okay? And so it shows the difference between the Western culture and Eastern culture. Eastern culture is, I feel, has more depth. Western culture is more impressive, has more marks, has better marks. Eastern culture has much better profundity. Okay, but also it also triggered something in my life that it affected me deeply, because it made me have this thirst to look for someone who can recognize my sound. Because to have all the material things in life is still not enough. Like Tzu-chi, like Baya, the official is well-to-do, he has all the skills, okay? And yet he's still unhappy because no one can really appreciate him, okay? It also impressed me the fact that someone who's so talented you can imagine with his talent, his social status, his lute is of great value, probably an antique, and very expensive. And he will break it so that he says, I have no more reason to play the lute for anyone else except for my Chuyin. Because without my Chuyin, my playing the lute is meaningless. I find no more satisfaction because no one else really understands me. Okay? And it's the loyalty here that impressed me. Until I learned about Mahayana, okay, I was free from this concept of Chuyin. I was able to drop it. Thank you, Lord. Because it created this thirst in my entire life. I kept on looking and looking and looking for someone who can understand me. Okay, you can relate to at a different level. Okay, yes, sir, Mr. Catholic. Good to see you.
It's kind of funny because I learned from a young age that there's no one in the world that can understand you. I learned that very young. I don't know why, but I learned that. And that's how
So Catholic, isn't it?
That's how I gained my faith more in God when I was younger. Because I know that God is the only one that can understand me. Well, that's what I used to.
That's what you believed. That's what you taught. Sir, there's a difference between that concept versus finding someone live in flesh and blood that you can relate to. It's not at all a concept. Okay? It's slightly different. I'm talking about a connection to a real life person. you're not alone anymore. Because Baya, the official, he felt he was alone his entire life. He has all the success. He has all the amenities that the social status can bring him. And yet, he's still dissatisfied. That's what fascinated me. Okay, he has everything you could think of. He doesn't have the responsibilities of a king where, and you have so much enormous pressure. He's an official, he's comfortable, he has a time to devote himself to his passion, playing the lute. Okay? And yet, he still feels there's something horribly missing. Okay, so I'm sorry to tell you that it's for me it's not just a concept. Okay, the concept has, to me, is a live person that interests me, not these intellectual things. God, Buddha, and so forth. Okay, even it has to be someone I can relate to. It's a personal experience. Okay. And that's why I meant by that this bond you have with someone. Yes, sir.
For me, when I was younger, it wasn't an intellectual experience for me. It was more real. I don't know why, but for me, it was more real than it is now.
Because now you are more or less polluted, corrupted, if you will. It's much easier to believe in something intellectually when you don't have enough information. Now you come to the temple, you hear we make fun of your God and other people, it's some disappointment in life, or where is he when you needed him, and so forth. That's a natural erosion of trust. Okay, because it's a mental construct. It's just a concept. Whereas for me, my personal growth, my personal faith keeps on growing and growing and growing and growing because of people that I met. Believe it or not, I went to Korea recently. I met with the people and said, oh wow, the Dharma is so beautiful. Okay, that these people can appreciate it. Because of their appreciation, I get to understand what the Dharma can do. So actually my faith becomes bigger, okay, grows because of people, not because of concepts. Because to me, to read a sutra alone, okay, it's just an intellectual concept. For the Buddhists, there are two things that happen. You read the sutras and then you meditate. And those sutras become alive in yourself, in your psyche, in your soul. Okay? And then eventually, this becomes wisdom. And then the wisdom is actually expanded, it grows by others, by your contacting others, by your interacting with others. That's I find so fascinating. And that's why one of the reasons I was able to let go of that thirst. I'm no longer had the thirst. Once I understood Mahayana, I no longer had the thirst for anyone else. Because you're right, no one else who can appreciate you. Okay, it's just this loneliness that came from my deep depression. That you're alone, and that you wish that someone can understand you so you can connect with someone. The depression makes you feel so sad, so isolated. Okay, I didn't realize it back then, but after I understood, I said, "Oh wow, I'm free from this encumbrance, these shackles." Because there's no need for anyone else. You're complete by yourself. And it reflects, and actually it gets better as the more you can connect with so many different people. Not just one. Because each people is so interesting in their own ways. Crazy people, inferior people, superior people, geniuses, all kinds of people makes lives wonderful. Okay, so now I look back, okay, I'm free from this, and I feel sad for Maya because he's so limited. He only sees one person, whereas his playing the lute is for his own amusement. That's what his problem is. You understand? It's just he does everything for his own pleasure, including becoming a sworn brother with Zuchi. Because he says, this is a unique man, a superior man who understands my music. It's an honor to be able to connect with someone like that. It's wonderful, okay? But, actually he says, I am special. And finally someone really can appreciate me. So he's like Zuchi. Actually, his appreciating Zuchi is actually appreciating himself. Can you see that? It is so sad. If you live like that, you need to look for someone to validate that you're special. Then your life is very, very limited, very sad. So that's why I disagree with Baya now. I said for him to break the lute like that is such a waste. Not appreciation, for example, the artisan, the craftsman who made the lute. Huh? How about that? Wouldn't that break that person's heart? And he said, if it's like that, I don't want to make another lute because, if I make the best lute possible, someone will break it. They don't respect my work. It breaks my heart. You see that? He's hurting someone. It's sad. It's a sad way to live. Because Maya only knows himself. Okay? And that's not Mahayana at all, folks. Mahayana is your life is richer because of others. It's not about us at all. We're doing all this. I ask you to cross your legs and endure the leg pains, okay? Because it enriches your life. It enriches your relationship with your daughters, with your sons, with your friends, with your spouses, with your parents, and so forth. You find out. Naturally, your customers. Should not be like Baya. Baya is too self-serving, too self-centered. I would call it Hinayana Mahayana. You know what I mean. Yes, 3.
Master, welcome back from Korea.
Thank you.
I kind of want to share from Chan meditation when I noticed my ego got smaller.
Yes.
Or calmed down.
Yes.
I realized I'm more of less, poor little me, or nobody understands me and all that good stuff. And
so lonely, so lonesome.
Yeah, that alone feeling that nobody can. You can have connections with people, but
superficially only.
Even that's not good enough. You want a connection with somebody that's just absolutely perfect, and you're always yearning for. It'll never be 100%, and then now I'm at the point where I feel more satisfied. It is what it is.
Yeah. And I was looking at the materials before the lecture, which is because it's been a while. But I make more comments a little bit later about that. Okay, this is very important. And these are very important concepts in Mahayana. I feel that what I learned to appreciate is that Mahayana is that is the opposite of Baya. Okay, and the more talented you are, the more you need to share it. If I were Baya, I would then say, in memory of my sworn blood brothers, Zuqi, I will play for more people. I will hold concerts everywhere. Okay? In memory of my best friend. Anyway. 288. All of the assemblies below in general are of 10 kinds. When the texts are reached, they will be explained. Except for the assemblies of current potentials, all the rest are conditions.
其下诸众略有10类，至文当明，除当机说，余皆是缘。
Okay, so commentary in 289. Going back to reality, we're talking about the conditions, how the Flower Adornment Sutra was spoken. The great master Qingliang mentioned 10 different types of conditions. And so he talked about the conditions why the Flower Adornment Sutra was spoken in certain ways. And he says it's spoken because of the assemblies, okay? And so the 10 types of assemblies will be explained later. One assembly of the 10 assemblies, one is of potentials, and the rest of the assemblies are conditions and auxiliary causes and conditions, okay? So Qingliang, Master Qingliang is very scholarly, and sometimes too scholarly for my taste. And I have tremendous respect for him. All his knowledge and his wisdom, but it is important. I'm using his wisdom in order to plant the seeds of great wisdom in you. Okay, so let's bear with it. But for me to train, that's part of the big picture. Okay, I help you get as far as I can, but also at the same time, I like to plant seeds for you to go even beyond what I know, what I can do for you. Okay? 290, in eighth, depending on the basis of virtue, streams that have pearls do not dry, mountains that have jade are increasingly lush.
第八，一得本者，川有珠而不枯，山有玉而润森润。
Sunrun. 291. The eighth condition. The eighth condition for this Flower Adornment Sutra to be spoken is depending on the basis of virtue. The people who like to listen to the Dharma has virtue, meaning that if your mind is not virtuous, you will not be able to sit there and listen to this Flower Adornment Sutra at all. Okay, it's not about labels, it's not about who you are, man, woman, child, or adult, or Catholic, or Buddhist. If your heart is not virtuous, you will not tolerate all these Flower Adornment Sutra concepts. Okay? And he says, it's like the pearls in the stream, the jades in the mountain, they create a healthy environments. Okay? 292. If one lacks a basis in virtue inside, how can one talk outside? If only in terms of the speaker, it is because of this Dharma's previous people.
内无德本，外岂能谈？然为约说者，前人此法故。
293. It's not about virtuous people in the audience, but also the main thing here, the critical thing here, is the virtues of the speaker. Okay, meaning that the speaker must have virtue inside in order to speak of this sutra outside. In particular, if the speaker have no virtues, the speakers will not be able to connect with the good people. Okay, this flowered one, this sutra here, is to help you become more virtuous. Okay, so it takes a virtuous speaker to be able to connect with that in you and draw it out of you. So far, so good. You must be impressed by the virtue of the speaker in order for your virtuous nature to emerge. Okay, that's what is the standard of the previous speakers of this Flower Dormant Sutra. So we have this track record, the standard set by the Buddhas, by the great Bodhisattvas, and then by the great patriarchs. So you learn to appreciate how profound the Chinese Mahayana really is. We need to be very grateful for that. Okay, they have such profound teachers, great teachers. 294. In general, there are two kinds. One, wisdom, since it is foremost.
略有二类，一者智慧，最为首故。
So, what are virtues? Virtues are number one. My goodness, children are growing so fast. She's growing at least 50% taller now. All right. So two kinds of virtues. One is wisdom. Wisdom is the foremost form of virtue. Why is that? Why is wisdom the foremost virtue? Okay. 296. The Buddhas of the 10 directions address Avatamsaka saying, it is also due to your wisdom and purity.
十方诸佛告金刚床言，即有汝智慧清净故。
297. Vajrayana Bodhisattva is a Mahasattva, and he says, the Buddhas of the 10 directions recognize him. He says, and you speak this sutra, and it's because you're able to speak the sutra because you have great wisdom and flawless purity. And 298, they address Avatamsaka saying, it is also because of the supreme power of your wisdom.
告金刚藏言，亦是汝圣智力故。
299, and also told Avatamsaka, also is your supreme unsurpassed wisdom. You see, the Buddha really praises the great Mahasattvas who spoke the Flower Dormant Sutra, helped speak the Flower Dormant Sutra on our behalf, for our benefit. So the first condition and the first major reason is because of virtue. Okay, so why is virtue? Why is virtue is manifest? And why is wisdom virtue? Yes, 6.
Thank you, Master. Because with wisdom, you can get to have better merit and virtue.
Wisdom, you have better what?
Merit and virtues.
Merit and virtues. Okay. Merit and virtues. Okay. Yes. If here's a very simple term. Let's put it in simple terms that people can understand. Because most people don't understand these virtue things here. What is virtue? Because most of the people don't have virtues. Okay, how do you recognize people who have virtues then? It's of interest to many, many people. The people who have, how do you recognize people who have wisdom? That's what I'm trying to say. I apologize. So the people of wisdom, you recognize people of wisdom is because they, what? They predicted the crash of the cryptocurrencies. No? At the time of this sutra lecture, a lot of people lost money, billions of dollars, because the cryptocurrency crashed. Okay? And so people with wisdom would not have let it happen. No? This is how Westerners look at virtues. Okay? They say, you're virtuous and you're a winner. Yes? Not at all. If you have wisdom, then you're winners, I mean. My point here is that you recognize someone who has wisdom because they do virtuous things themselves. It's not about winning. It's not about gain. It's not about profit. It's not about fame. It's about doing virtuous things. That is the nature of, that's how you can observe. That's how wisdom manifests itself. So that's why Buddhism is kind of hard to catch on for the general population, because it's much easier for general population to talk, to look at concrete things such as profits, such as fame, such as how many temples you have. Okay, whereas wisdom cannot be seen. If you do virtuous things, people are not supposed to know. So you see, therein lies the difficulties of teaching Mahayana and practicing Mahayana. It doesn't pay. That's the bottom line. You do this because you're taking losses. Because it's a virtuous thing to do, is to take losses so that others can gain. Yes, 3.
Master, I find wisdom in here, but I'm struggling to name any kind of wisdom on the outside world. So what you just said about do virtuous things and then nobody's supposed to know, it's like, look at me, then how do you recognize virtue?
How do you recognize wisdom? You recognize virtue. And also it's vice versa. If you do virtuous things, then you also will be able to open your wisdom. It's the other way as well. Okay, you have wisdom, then you do virtuous things, and because you do virtuous things, then your wisdom will increase. That's why, by the way, people who have wisdom do virtuous things by nature, because the wisdom finds a way to increase itself, not decrease. Okay, so that's why it's so important for you to get to the point in our practice, to get the point where you have transcendental wisdom. Yes, wisdom has worldly wisdom and transcendental wisdom. Worldly wisdom is based on profits and fame and recognition in the world, can be measured in terms of worldly standards, whereas transcendental wisdom is measured by transcendental criteria. Okay, and they're not as easily understood by the average person. Yes, 8.
Master, so you're saying that you start with virtues and then you can get wisdom, and wisdom you get virtue, and you go through a cycle like this.
Yes.
Which means you can propel yourself much quicker if you start in the right path. Because you keep on going this, keep on building up and up. Eventually, almost like exponentially. It's
Yes,
almost,
yes.
So it's like that.
Absolutely, precisely. And that's out of wisdom, that you are virtuous. You do virtuous things.
One more question.
Yes.
So there's a connection, and is it correct that virtues create blessing create fate, maybe even patience? All of it lead to wisdom. Is that correct?
Yeah, and all those. It's a cycle. It's a complete cycle. Okay, and you can the objective of all these practices is to open your wisdom. In order to open your wisdom, you need to do virtuous things. And when you do virtuous things, you open your wisdom, and then when you have wisdom, you even do even more virtuous things, which then opens even more wisdom for you. Isn't that fascinating? And this is the secret that most worldly knowledge doesn't have. Because worldly knowledge, the goal is different. Worldly knowledge is that, find me something that is concrete, that is measurable, so that I can deem it, measure it, engage it as success, as achievement. Whereas in virtue, in wisdom, it's just the opposite. It cannot be seen. It's not supposed to be seen. Yes, go ahead, Q&A.
Hello, Master. Welcome back.
Thank you.
When you were saying that the being virtuous is taking a loss and let other people win, and given what's going on with stock market and crypto, that sounds very familiar. How do you explain that to someone, like the difference of being a sucker and then this? Like I kind of, I know there's a difference. I can tell the difference to some extent, but how do you explain that?
Why do you have to explain to them?
I don't know. For example, to my children.
No, you're trying too hard to explain things to people. That's a problem. You think as if we have more wisdom, therefore we need to explain to people. Not at all. Quite often, when you have wisdom, you don't explain anything. You just do.
Okay, thank you, Master.
You understand? I'm not teaching you about the concept of wisdom. I'm not teaching you about how to break down wisdom and how to understand the components of wisdom and so forth, which is what the typical Dharma master would tell you. Okay, and they would cite the Buddhist dictionary, this sutra, that sutra, and so forth, to make a case for it. What I'm trying to teach you is the things you need to do yourself that will open your wisdom. Okay, it's not theory. It's about what is the better way for you and a faster way for you to open your wisdom. Yes, did you want to say anything? Okay. And so that's why you're trying too hard to explain to people. Well, that's not necessary. Okay, it's not virtuous, if you will. To try to explain to people virtue and try to make them become virtuous is not necessary. In simple terms, who asked you to explain to them? They didn't ask you. If they're suckers, they're perfectly being happy being suckers. Yes, number 3.
Master, the same thing happened to me, but somebody asked me, what is wisdom? And then I said, well, there's worldly wisdom, and that's knowledge to make buildings and airplanes and whatever, but then there's a different wisdom. It's like your intuition or your gut feeling, and then I just kind of stopped it there because that's all I know.
Yeah, that's enough. When they ask like that, we can explain to them in that fashion, and that's it. That's all they're interested in. And that's good enough. It's called Transcendental Wisdom, which transcends the worldly concerns, the worldly constraints that most people have. Because it turns out that it doesn't matter how smart you are, how wise you are in the worldly knowledge, you will not be happy. That's the bottom line. You need transcendental wisdom to be happy. And in that path of transcendental wisdom, acquiring that, you will naturally become happier than right now. And happier and happier and happier. And that's what world people need to know. That's all they need to know. Okay? The results will speak for themselves, and what is required is not knowledge. This is a problem with the teachers, the Buddhist teacher. They keep on talking about knowledge. Let me explain to you what wisdom is. And let me explain to you what virtue is and so forth. But what they're lacking is the specific instruction for you personally, how to open your wisdom. It's not a dictionary, okay? A dictionary is not for you. The instructions need to be tailored for you. Yes, 5.
Thank you, Master. I'm kind of the confusion about the virtue and the blessing. If you make a blessing and when we cultivate, we're gonna use my blessing. So maybe I make some blessing. I use my blessing. My blessing is run out, right?
Yes.
Yeah. How about the virtue? Virtue is never run out or never losing. If I had virtue, not like a blessing.
Okay. Virtue is how do you explain this? That's a good question. And if you keep on breaking it down, that's when we get in trouble. Okay, does it run out? Does it increase? Okay, don't look so much about virtues. Okay, because it's invisible. You don't quite understand what virtue really is. Okay, because depending on who you are, where you are, virtue will differ. So that's why it's very difficult to explain to you. Instead, focus on virtuous acts. What is the virtuous things that you can do? That's next here in slide 300. It's about conduct and vows. Okay, it's not about concepts. Okay, so for example, all these virtues in here, okay, is from your wisdom. Okay, the wisdom from your nature. So because your nature, the wisdom nature, you do virtuous things. Okay, which help your wisdom nature to increase. And therefore, your virtues will naturally increase. So don't focus so much on understanding what it is, but understanding on the process. Okay? Breaking it down is not going to help you. It's your committing to doing more virtuous acts, being a more virtuous person that will help you. This is different between us and a scholarly approach. Yes, back there, too.
Thank you, Master. Talk about virtues and marriage. I was thinking this 6-7 years. Back then I wasn't that super happy, but right after like this, I'm talking about like after this all pandemic, and we went through all this hardship, the temples, everyone's. And this recently, I have these new jobs called Pizza Hut delivery. And I ran into a lot of stuff that it surprised me. And just recently, this 2 weeks, I have my window down and my car's unlocked, and I can't find a parking to deliver pizza, and I park the illegal residence driveway. And my mind is just so confused that I try to get this delivery quickly and get out because it's illegal parking. And I realized that I have my wallet is in the car, and people can see it right there. Once you walk by my car, you can see it. And you could just reach over and then just grab the wallet and go. And I had the feeling, I went back to the car, I go, okay, my wallet's gone now. Then I realized, okay, it is what it is. I'm all happy. And I kept working and working, and I don't think about where my wallet is now. So it's nothing important in there, but back then, if I have something like that got stolen or lost or someone's taken, I was so mad, and I go freaked out, I get so stressed, and now it's like, hey, I hope that person's enjoy the money. And I do pray for them. I go, okay, hope he enjoy it, and it is what it is. I'm happy what it is.
So you call that wisdom or what?
Usually, what I heard the Master would just run over with virtues, marriage, and wisdom, which just becomes virtue and marriage first, then come wisdom. And then wisdom is how we learn wisdoms by wisdom. That's what I think.
Okay. Wisdom, I don't know about losing money, but part of wisdom, because I don't think I subscribe to the fact that when you have wisdom, you won't lose money, okay, necessarily. But the part of the wisdom what I heard so far in your case is that you are not as afflicted as before. That is wisdom.
I agree. I felt something that is different. And I don't know, today I was just showing Francis the relics. The relic is so big, it's big like the size of my thumb. I was walking down the street.
Are you sure it wasn't a rock?
I'm not sure because it's on my phone right now. I can show it to you. I should give it to Master. Give it up to the white one. I don't know, it's just plastic. And it hits my head. It rolled down my shoulder and rolled down my sleeve, and it hit the ground so hard it go. It's like a rock that fell off on the ground.
Yeah,
I heard noise.
it's almost as big as a quail's egg.
Exactly, and then I looked around, and I was like surprised. What the heck? Who just throws stuff at me? Then I looked around. I go, whoa. And then I walk away, and then something tells me, stop, you idiot. Pick it up.
Yeah, that's a voice of wisdom.
And I did pick it up. I was going to walk away. I go, who throws stuff at me? And I looked around.
Yeah.
And I recently, and I heard something just tells me, idiot, stop, pick it up. And I go, it must be really because something.
The voice is a man or woman's voice?
I don't know. Something just tells me to stop and pick it up.
If it's a woman's voice, it's got to be from your mother.
Oh my God. That was so surprised. I go, wow, what is this? This is so big. I don't know, is it the real legs or just some kind of plastic? I'm not really sure.
Okay.
Then I put it back and I put it in the glass where all the other relics.
Yeah, ask the old monk. Okay.
Thank you,
I have
Master.
no wisdom when it comes to relics.
I just show everybody go, whoa, I don't know.
Yeah.
Thank you, Master.
Yes, Q&A.
Thank you, Master.
Hello, that's Nữ.
Yeah. Thank you, Master.
Xin, that's Nữ.
Yes. Master, so is it safe for me to teach my children that, wake up, just think what can you do to give and serve people, and eventually wisdom will come to them?
No, your children will not buy into it. They will say, Mama, what happened to you? You used to be so smart and reasonable. Now you're speaking nonsense. You should start going to the temples.
Okay.
Okay? You have to explain to them in terms that they understand. So for children who are growing up and learning to be engineers and being successful in life, you tell them, you should be a loser, according to them. You should give up everything you make and have. That's nonsense. No. For children, you teach them about success. See, Mahayana, believe it or not, is... when I teach Mahayana, I don't teach people about wisdom. I teach people to get what they want. Okay? So meaning that, what are their needs? What do they want? You need to understand it first. In your children's case, they're stressed out. There's some common needs they have that the worldly knowledge cannot provide them. I don't care how important you are, how much money you make. Okay, in Korea, in the United States, the one common thread is that you're so stressed out that Rushu's husband will go after a long day's work at work. He would go home and he says, "Give me a drink." Okay, and he kept on drinking 5-6 beers until he's relaxed, and then while he's unwinding, he's talk to his wife. Okay, and so it's a nice relationship right there. Okay, if we need to help people get what they want. Okay, the one thing that many people need to learn to cope with is stress. And the only thing most people know is to drink. Okay, to unwind and to relax. Okay, I used to watch TV until I was numb. Okay, and whereas, and the same with the children. I talked to a young man who got into a PhD program at MIT and various universities after he earned his bachelor's degree at UC Berkeley in double major, physics and computer sciences or computer engineering. And so I asked him, how did you manage to do a double major in 4 years and get such good grades and get accepted into such prestigious university? He says, what I do is in the morning, I meditate for 15 minutes without fail. Every single morning, I get up, I meditate for 15 minutes. Okay? My point here is that we need to teach our children things that they are helpful to them in their work, not things that are important to us. You see, what you're doing, what Nu is doing is that she's showing her love to her children, and that's very important. Her children will then always remember this mom here who keeps on forcing things down their throat out of love to them, and they'll probably end up doing the same thing to their children because mommy did it to them, okay? So instead, relax, and instead of forcing them, now they're more adult, especially your daughter is going to, is she going to Berkeley or what?
Master, she's going to Berkeley.
Oh, thank you, Lord.
Yes. She's committed, yes.
Okay, that's great. So instead of trying to teach them things that are important to you, why don't you learn to talk to them and listen to what's important to them? And then find out what we can do, what Mahayana can do to help them meet those needs. Okay? That's what I would do. This is how I teach Mahayana. I teach you by listening to you, listening about, what Catholics want, what Catholics desire, and so forth. And it turns out Catholics, they really want not to be with God. You know what Catholics really want? Their girlfriends. When they think of the girlfriend, they can't forget about God. Say, God, oh, sorry, God, you have to wait until I'm done. Okay? You see? So that's more important. That's why he dropped his God and he came to our temple, because he wanted to learn how to get along with his Buddhist girlfriend. You see that? And win her heart. Okay? And we're going to take our time before we teach him how to win a Buddhist heart. You got my point? My point here is find out what your husband needs, your daughter needs, and your children needs. And then we figure out a way to help them get them. Okay? That's Mahayana. That's the Mahayana we practice. Does it help? Talk to them. I spend more time talking to people. I keep on talking and talking and talking and talking. Sometimes I talk to someone for 3 hours, okay? And say, after 2 hours, your problem is not the way you think it is. Your problem is so and so and so. And I said, well, I never thought of it that way. He said, no, believe me, that's your problem. You see, anyway, the point is that you need to talk to them. Let them, the first skill you need to acquire is let them talk, okay? If your husband wants to drink, let him drink and let him talk and tell him what he wants. Listen to it. That's how you sell him about anything. Washer dryers, going to America, vacations, another car. Easy. That's wisdom. Yes, 9.
This is from Vicky. Master, if we can achieve transcendental wisdom and then we help our family, are we helping them gain some wisdom as well?
Absolutely. How do you get transcendental wisdom? Part of transcendental wisdom is worldly wisdom. Do you realize that? How can there be transcendental wisdom without worldly wisdom? In fact, for you to be able to develop transcendental wisdom, you must first acquire worldly wisdom, by the way. The climb, your wisdom as it increases in worldly wisdom. Until you get the range of transcendental wisdom, I'm talking about enlightenment, okay? Then you appreciate the worldly wisdom more, actually. Now you see worldly wisdom from a transcendental perspective. All right, 302, the power of abundant conduct and vows.
二者于恨怨力故。
Okay, 301. So the basis of virtue is through conduct and vow powers. Okay? Because plenty of the conducts and vows over the course of the Bodhisattva path. Okay. 302. The Buddha's 10 directions address universal worthy, saying, it is also because of the power from your cultivation of all conducts and vows.
十方诸佛告普贤言：亦以如修一切诸恨愿力故。
303. I happen to disagree with the translation a little bit. Here, what the Buddha tells when they address universal worthy, he says, it's because of the vow of your cultivation of all conducts and vows, power. Yeah, you need to separate here because the translation, they don't understand the message from the Buddha. The Buddha says, hey, universal worthy, you've been teaching my pupils, especially the people at Bodhi Light International. Can I say that? Okay, about all conducts. Excuse me. Universal worthy is, he preaches us how to practice all sorts of conducts, namely the 10 conducts that we recite every single morning in the morning ceremony. Okay? First is to Li Jing Tu Fo, is bow and respect all Buddhas. 2 is to praise, 称赞 and 称赞, praise and Cheng recite, Cheng Zan, Li Jing Tu Fo, Cheng Zan Ru Lai, the Tathagata, and so forth. See, so universal worthy Bodhisattva says, if you want to practice the Bodhisattva path, you need to do these conducts, these 10 conducts. If you do that, you'll be just like me. And that is the quintessential Bodhisattva practices. Those 10 practices are the encapsulation of all the Bodhisattva practices you need to do. They're very important. First, you bow and worship all Buddhas. Number 2, you recite and praise the Buddhas. Okay? Think about it. That's what we do in ceremonies. Okay? We start first in our ceremonies with bowing to the triple jewel, yes? And the Buddhas. And then we recite the incense praise, okay? And offer incense to the Buddhas. Okay, so that's Cheng Zan Ru Lai, Wang Xiu Gong Yang, okay, and so forth. Number 3 is to widely practice making offerings, practice giving. So all those are the secret to the Bodhisattva practice success, if you will. So universal worthy says, if you want to do the Bodhisattva practice, these are the 10 things you need to do. Okay, first do that, number 2 do this, number 3 do that, and so forth. If you do that, you succeed in your Bodhisattva path. Isn't that wonderful? This is a Buddhist secret. Okay? How become successful and have a lot of influence, if you will, in a worldly perspective. Okay? So that's why universal worthy is known for all sorts of conducts. Chinese, 助行, 助行. Okay? All these practices. Okay? That's what is characteristics of universal worthy bodhisattvas work in our world. He's coming here to teach us, okay, how to practice the Bodhisattva path. That's why we at Bodhi Light International, whether it's in here, in US or wherever else in the world, this is the core of our practice. So far, so good. You have no secret. This is what we do. Okay? So that's why it's called the cultivation of all conducts. And vow power. Okay? It's not power from cultivation. No, this is interpretation, because this is particular, these people who translated at my master's temple, they don't understand this. There are two things. Number one, you are able to practice all these conducts, these 10 conducts of universal worthy. Okay? And why are you able to do that? It's because of your vow power. This is the distinction in the advanced Mahayana teachings that these people don't understand. You see, if you have this, and it doesn't matter to you, but let me tell you, it matters when you get higher. There's a difference. You need to practice all sorts of conducts. They're all patterned after these 10 vow powers and priorities, sequentially. Is that clear? Okay, the secret, you need to practice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, so forth. Yes, 3.
Master, is the vows, are there freezing to death? We don't ask for anything, and starving to death. We don't ask for money. Are those the vows?
Yes. Among many. We made vows and vows and vows and vows. Okay. Yes, 8.
Master, at what stage do you start making vows?
You start since the first day you became Buddhist. You made 4 vows immediately. 众生无边誓愿度. Living beings are boundless, a vow to save them all. Okay? We make vows constantly. And what is a vow power? See? So there are two things. All sorts of conduct, Chu Heng and Yuan Li. They're two different things. That's what differentiates universal worthy Bodhisattva from the others. And that's why we follow him, because he's the most effective form of practice. Whether you're Catholic or Protestant or Mormon or Taoist and something, you follow these practices, 10 practices, you will succeed. And in the biggest way is the furthest, is the Buddha way. Yes, sir. Number 1.
My question is, what does it mean when you guys say about to save all living beings? How can you save all living beings?
We start by saving Catholics. See, now you understand why we don't try to convert you, because we convert all the Catholics. There's no more Catholics to save. I don't understand why the people are so keen on converting Buddhists to Catholics, and so forth. For us Buddhists, we love it when you're not Buddhist, because we have work to do. Yes, 9.
This is a question from a prior day. It's from Addison, Brazil.
Yes.
Does the Shirangama mantra translation matter? The mantra is in Chinese on CTTB. I have listened to it in Sanskrit on YouTube, and I found a website that has both Sanskrit and English translations. I want to know which is more important, if the practice itself is critical or if understanding what is being said, so I can better internalize it. By practice, I mean recitation and listening to it.
Yes, it's a good question. It's a good question that people must know. Of these practices, what I do, I don't know. I don't have any real wisdom. What I did is I followed my teacher's teaching. So my teacher happened to be Chinese, and he put a lot, Master YongHua invested a lot of time and money and efforts in creating an English version of it from a Chinese. They basically did the sound thing. Okay, the Chinese, they basically phonetized the Sanskrit into Chinese, and then we transcribed the Chinese character into Roman, what we call our alphabet, our own alphabet, and we learn from that. So basically, the English version is basically, it sounds like a Chinese version. Why? Because I trust my teacher. Okay, it's very important. The source of your practice is much more important than whatever it is. I happen to believe in choosing the credible and the more accurate version, meaning that because I trust my teacher, I would not trust a Sanskrit, because I myself then would need to verify where it came from. I need to go look at the Sanskrit, and I have to learn Sanskrit, and have to look for someone who has an authority in Sanskrit, and so forth, and on and on and on. For me, to simplify things, I just know of this great monk called YongHua, and if he teaches that, I follow that. It's much simpler for me. It's less time-consuming and much better, because he is the one who has wisdom. I don't. Okay, so I recommend doing what we did and what we're doing, what I did and what we're doing here at Wei Mountain Temple, and work very well for my disciples and for myself. And we have a track record of practicing this Chinese version of Master YongHua's Shirangama mantra. Okay, so you can do that. Okay, so going back to slide 303 here. So Universal Worthy is known for two things. He has the conducts, all sorts of conducts. He teaches us, and this is what we pattern again. Our cultivation, my training on you is based on these conducts, and also on the vow power. Vow power is that when you make these vows have with them the power. What are these vow powers? First of all, the vows you're learning are the vows that the Mahasattvas and Bodhisattvas made. Okay? Trust me, it would be very rare for you to be able to make a vow that a Bodhisattva or Mahasattva has yet to make. I doubt it very much. Okay? So most of the vows have been made already. Okay? And so when you make a vow, and we teach you to make the proper vows. When you became Buddhist, during the ceremony in the Mahayana temples, you are taught to make 4 vows immediately as soon as you became Buddhist. As soon as you have the Buddhist substance, you say, okay, let's use this substance to make vast vows. Okay? And these vast vows are to save all living beings, to cut off sever all afflictions, to learn all Dharma doors, and number 4, to become a Buddha, accomplish Buddhahood. Those are the 4 vast vows, okay, that will guide us in our path as Buddhists. Okay, and you, as on the path, you even make more vows. You become more detailed. What living beings am I making a vow? I know I vow to save living beings, but I also want to vow to save Catholics because I feel so bad for them. You know, things like that you encounter along your path, and that's how you create affinities with these people. You know, in the future, my Buddha land will have a lot of churches. Just to draw the Buddhists and the Catholics over, and Protestants over, and the Episcopalians and so forth. Okay? We have a lot of Buddhist churches. Well, we chant God and everything just to make them happy. You see? So you make these vows in order, you make more detailed vows, if you will, to specifically target the work, the practices that you want to engage in. Okay, you don't need to do them all. Okay, these practices are designed to help you progress along. Okay, and once you understand, then It's no practice you can't practice. There's nothing you can't do. Okay, so all these Dharma doors lead to the same universal Dharma door called Buddha Dharma door. Okay, so these vows, when you make these vast vows, do not be scared. Do not be realistic. These vows are basically unrealistic. How can you possibly save all living beings? You know how difficult it is to save Catholics. It's impossible. And yet we still want to save Catholics. Okay, so you know it's impossible, you still do it. Okay, and you know, how can you possibly save all living beings? That's really impossible. Okay, but all these vows carry a power. It's called vow power. Because the power, just like your muscle power, is what propels you in your practice. So if your vow is small, then it's reasonable, then the power of your vows is also small and reasonable. Got it? If your vows are infinite like the Mahasattvas and Bodhisattvas, then the power are also limitless. You understand now, it's not about the power of the conducts. No, it's a vow power that the Buddhas are talking about right here. Is it clear? This shows the difference between these people who transcribe this. Okay? They don't understand the higher level of the Mahayana teachings. That's why the translation is a little bit off. When you read it off like this, then you miss out on the foundations for the seats for greater level, higher level attainment. That's the difference. Okay? Yes, you'd be happy with the small results, low level enlightenment, but then you also miss out on the chance to plant the proper seeds for much higher. So universal worthy is the role model for us in terms of conducts, in terms of vow power. Yes, 8.
Master, so the vow is, the purpose of it is to create power to help you make better progress. It's not to accomplish it. It's impossible to do. That's
No. We want to accomplish the impossible. You are just too logical. You're not Buddhist enough. The Buddhists are unreasonable. Okay? We're not supposed to be reasonable. Why? Because vows are supposed to be infinite. That's why Buddhas have no choice. They can never retire. I can retire. Okay? But when I become a Buddha, I can no longer retire. That's why I insist on retirement. Why I still can do it. Got that? It's not supposed to be logical. You are just too logical. You should look from the perspective of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. You say, this is what they do, this is what I do. If your wife disagrees, tough luck, honey. You have to take me as who I am. Okay? Does it help? Okay. This is so important. The vow power. So you can, if you will, change it for me. It's because of your cultivation of all conducts and vow powers. Change the text. Should be, it's also because of your cultivation of all conducts and vow powers. Got that? I know it's a technical detail, but it's a very important detail as far as universal worthy teachings is concerned. And clearly, these people over there, they don't understand universal worthy bodhisattva conduct and vows. That's it. And also, yeah, there you go. Very good. Okay, we're running out of time. Okay, so we continue next time, everyone. Thank you all for coming.